welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lauren and I have a small business and usually make videos about that, but today's video is actually going to be about sourdough. I have been making sourdough for about 10 months now. The first couple months didn't go very well, but that was a testing period and trialing and learning. But for the past 4 to 5 months, have been successfully making sourdough almost every single week for myself, my partners, nana, aunties and uncles, and I've been absolutely loving it. And I did work off other people's recipes for a very long while until I started to sort of figure out how I wanted to make sourdough. I still kind of use the measurements of somebody else's. This is the one by Alexandra Stafford, but I changed the process and I changed the ingredients just a little bit, and the way I do it is kind of different to how everybody else does it. So I thought I'd put it onto the internet so anyone can see it. I'm going to take off my rings because we are going to get messy. And I recently wrote a blog post about it. If you're watching this on the Monday that it was uploaded, then last Wednesday I wrote a blog post about bread, and it's called the Easy Sourdough Loaf Recipe for Beginners because it's really just easy. So I'm going to be following my own blog post today because I'm going to link this video to that post so that people can go from there and watch it and have a visual form of understanding as well. So if you're coming from that blog post, hello, I'm glad that I can help you. Now this recipe does make 2 loaves, and usually I will make them into 10 loaves. I do use this recipe to make artisan loaves a lot of the time as well, but at the moment I pretty much just do 10 loaves because they're easier in a lot of different aspects. They're easy to bake and then they're easy to cut, and most of my family uses them for toast, so it's easy to go in the toaster because it's a shape. I have 2 of the exact same tins. They're the Jamie Oliver 1 litre tins. I don't think they sell them anymore, but I got them from Woolworths and they were clearance. I got 3 of these. I just use a big metal bowl. It has some silicone on the bottom because it helps keep it stable on the table. I have that bowl. I've measured out my flour, which is 750 grams. I use bread flour. The bag is in there, but I think it's the Wallaby brand from Woolworths. I've got 560 grams of water. We've got 18 grams of salt. And then I have already measured out my starter as well. I think today I'm using 150. In my blog post, I've got 150-ish grams of starter because occasionally I will put more in if it looks a little deflated, or if the starter is really active and really healthy, I might even put a bit less in. I think my starter's a pretty good starter. I've had it for a while now, but I also don't take care of it as much as I should. For now, I'm just going to get this loaf on. It is currently 10 to be exact. So yeah, let's get this loaf going. So I don't really use anything fancy. I just have my metal bowl, I have my measured out ingredients, but I don't usually use anything else. So I'll put my water in first. And then my only tool apart from my hands is my spatula, which as you can see is already a bit messy because I used it this morning to get the starter out. Let's get this starter into the bowl. I fed my starter last night, but it did deflate a little bit by this morning because it was a warm night. So I'm just going to get all of it. Once that's in there, I just use my spatula to give that a mix so that it's all evenly distributed in the water. A lot of people getting into sourdough think they need all the fancy tools, but I'm going to go through today what I use in replacement of those fancy tools, such as using this spatula instead of buying a Danish dough whisk. You don't need a Danish dough whisk. I didn't have one for a very long time. Now that I do have one, because I thought I needed it, don't actually like it. So maybe I'm using it wrong, but I use it for other things. I don't use it for dough. Once that's done, I usually just throw all of my flour in over the top. And then I sprinkle my salt over the top. Now for the fun part, I just put my hand into like a paddle sort of shape, and I originally started doing this because I didn't like when the dough got in between my fingers. So I put it into like a paddled sort of cup shape, and I just slowly mix. and slowly incorporate a bit more flour and a bit more water. This is when people would be using the Danish dough whisk. I don't think there's any point. And slowly start to just get everything off the side. I'm keeping that shape, as you can see. And I'm turning the bowl with this hand. So everybody, now that I have my sourdough mixture, I have pre-prepared a tea towel. This is an extra large tea towel. I don't know why I went with this one, but I've dampened it so that I can put it over the top of the bowl. Now that it's covered, I can let it sit for 15 minutes. In this 15 minutes, the water is going to absorb a bit more into the flour, so it's not going to feel as like dry if it did feel dry for you. For now, mine does actually feel pretty okay. I probably could leave it for the whole half an hour to an hour, but I'm gonna follow my guidance strictly and wait 15 minutes with it covered. It is a slightly humid day, it is pouring rain, and I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me or not very well, but for now it's covered and we're going to wait 15 minutes. I am now ready to have a look and to do some flips and stuff. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm going to put the camera back on the dough so that I can show you what I do as my first few stretch and folds, but I'm going to wet my hands first. So I've wet my hand and I just come around the edges and lift it and just flop it down. This stretch and fold isn't trying to stretch it as high as I can. I'm just trying to activate the gluten a little bit. It's only been 15 minutes since I last played with it, so it's not going to be perfect and it's still going to be quite sticky. With wet hands, it's still sticking to me, but it's coming off pretty easy. And I only do that a couple of times. And I think I'm just going to leave it at that. See how easy that was? That was the first stretch and fold. Just grabbing it around the side, lifting it up and flopping it back over. That's how easy that was. I'll show you that process again in half an hour to an hour. I think I'm actually going to leave it about 45 minutes because it's a pretty nice day, but it's still pretty cold. So I'm going to let it sit for 45 minutes and then I will come back and I will show you that exact technique again with stretching it just that little bit more. And then the next two stretch and folds that I do, I usually do it in a different way because I think it reduces the stickiness a little bit more. But the next stretch and fold will be a normal one again. Hello everybody, I am back. It has been a bit of time. I actually think it's been a bit over 45 minutes, but I can't remember and I didn't set a timer. So I'm going to take off the damp cloth. It is still very damp, so I don't need to re-wet it. Just check yours and make sure it's still damp as well. It is quite sticky still. Getting a bit on my finger. Not actually as much as I usually do, and I think it's because I gave it a really good mix in when I first mixed it. Yours might be extra sticky, yours might be a bit more dry. I won't know because I can't feel it, and if you're not used to sourdough, you won't know either, and that's okay. We're just going to continue following the steps. So I'm going to go and wet my hand again and then I'm going to do the normal stretch and fold like I showed you last time. I'll show you again, I'll zoom in and I'll do it extra slow for you, and then the next time we do a stretch and fold I'll do it in a different way to show you how else you can stretch and fold to make it a little bit less sticky. So I have my wet hand. As you can see, I'm going to scrape around the edges, and then we're going to lift it up and flop it back down. Around the edges, lift it up and flop it back down. As you can see, it's getting a little less on my hands this time. Lift and flop, and the last one, because we're only going to do it 4 times, we're going to lift and flop it back down. On that last one, I could already feel that it was getting tense, so some people might only do it a few times. I'm just going to clean up the edges to make it nice and smooth, and that's it. And make sure you cover it again. Now time to leave it for another 45 minutes. All right, everybody, it has been a little bit. It has actually been longer than expected. I haven't got dry hands at the moment, so I can't show you whether or not it's sticky, but it is still a bit. So I'm going to teach you. So I scrape down all the edges, and then I lift from the middle and let it come up that way, and then flop it back down like that. Then I'll twist it to do it again, lifting it up, trying to get as much out as possible, and then back down. Now there was still a bit stuck to the side here, so I'm just going to scrape that off. And then lift that up, and I can already feel that it's a bit more tense. I want to grip all the bottom stuff and drop it back down-ish. So it's still really sticky on my hand that isn't wet. And then I just kind of go around and I tuck all the edges under. Because it is a bit sticky, I'm just going to do 10 minutes and do another stretch and fold, and then we'll put it in the tins in a couple of hours. Alright everybody, welcome back. It is now late. I have had my dough sitting for a while now. It's probably a bit overdone, so don't follow my instructions, but it is not coming off to the touch. I did a few more stretch and folds, but we're looking a bit gassy. I'll show you right now what we're looking like. So we're looking very gassy. We've got some bubbles here. It's still sticky, it's still coming off a little bit. I probably could have gone with another stretch and fold. This now needs to be split in 2 and put into my tins. So I've got a clean bench top here. I've cleaned it off. I've got wet hands. I should realistically take my watch off, but that is too late now, so it's fine. I'm gonna stretch it out of the bowl and put it there. As you can see, it's got a lot of gassiness in it. That's all of this done. So it's still sticking a little bit to the bench, but I'm gonna give it a few little shaping runs. So see how I'm scooping around and then down and under? Like that. I'm going to go and wet my hands again and grab a bench scraper to cut this in half. So I've wet my hands again, I've got my bench scraper, and I'm just going to go straight down the middle of this loaf. There's a hair in there, so we're going to take that out. That is almost definitely from my dog, not me. Luckily enough, everyone I give these loaves to is well aware of the fact that my dog has access to my kitchen. And I'm very glad I don't sell these loaves. So at the moment I can feel that this one is bigger, but I don't think it matters. Beautiful. And I'm just gonna put one to the side, one of the tins to the side, and I'm just gonna scoop around and under a few times. And then because of the shape of the loaf tin, I want to go side to side, but I'm actually not happy with how it's looking, so I'm going to roll it anyway. And then we're just going to pick it up and drop it in. This is how I do the tin loaves. I'm not doing an artisan loaf today. If you want a video that includes how I do the artisan loaves, please comment down below because I'm very happy to do that. But yeah, I'm just gonna do the second loaf now. Usually I actually do weigh these out as well. but I can't be bothered today. So this is getting very sticky. So I'm gonna go and wet my hands again. Got refreshed wet hands. They're probably even a bit too wet, but that's okay. There is such thing as having too wet hands. It adds a bit too much moisture to the dough. Makes it a bit more dense when you're baking it up and makes it a bit more fluffy in the meantime. So yeah, I'm gonna do another roll. Alright, and then we're gonna plop that one into its tin as well. So now we've got a dirty bench, dirty hands. Let's get cleaned. And the next thing I do is get out my big roll of cling wrap. And I'll lay down a really long strip. Sit it on top because the cling wrap doesn't like sticking to this very much. Just fold it over, tuck in the sides. And that one is all done and ready to go. And into the fridge they go. So because I have a market tomorrow, I will be baking these up in the afternoon and I will show you the result of that. I will be putting them in my Dutch oven inside my very small oven, and you can see the end result, which I'm very excited and eager for. So I will see you guys tomorrow when I'm baking these up. Alright everybody, it is the next day. I did my market this morning and it is currently 5:10. So if these loaves don't turn out immaculately perfect, it's because I'm doing something I don't usually do and waiting until the end of the day to bake them. So I've had the oven preheating with my Dutch oven in the oven at 210 degrees Celsius, which is pretty high. So I want to make sure I wear oven mitts, and from past experience, long sleeves are always better because the amount of times I've burnt myself on random spots in my arm, it is just ridiculous how often I burn myself. So that's not gonna happen today because I've got my long sleeves on and I'll be wearing my oven mitts. I'm gonna grab one of the tin loaves out and then you guys can watch me put it into the Dutch oven. I usually have a spray water, it's just a little bottle that has water in it. Some people use ice blocks. I just use water because I think it works best. And then the other thing that I have as well, which is something that I highly recommend. I tried to do this with a knife for a very long while, and then my partner happened to have razor blades that I borrowed, and then I finally bought a bread lame off Temu, and it's just got a razor blade in it. So let's go through putting this bread in the Dutch oven. All right everybody, so I've got my loaf here. It's wrapped in Glad wrap as I did last night, and I'm just gonna unwrap it. I can see that there are a couple of gas bubbles in the top, but that's all right. I'm gonna put that down here, and before I take my Dutch oven out, I'm going to do the slicing. On the second loaf, I will actually film slicing it. Otherwise, I will just do it here. I don't bother putting any flour over the top. I just give it a slice right down the center. I do it a couple of times. I go over it because it's sticky and it might need it, and my bread lame is a bit dull. And this by far will not be the best loaf of bread I have ever made, but that's okay. Once I'm done, I'm gonna leave it to the side because I'm gonna need to wash it. I'm gonna grab my oven mitts. I'm gonna close my oven pretty quickly because I don't want the heat to be removed. Same with the Dutch oven. I wanna be really quick because I don't want the heat to be removed. I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna take that off, and then I'm just gonna squirt a lot in. Cover it with the lid. So I showed you guys what it looked like before, but I'll show you again afterwards. But first, I'm gonna quickly put this away. And I'm gonna set a 28 to 30 minute timer, and I will catch you on the flip side. All right, everybody, now comes the time where we are taking off the lid. The first timer has gone off. Oven is open. We're gonna try and be quick. Open that up. You can see how good that loaf is looking. I just wanted to close that quickly, but I'm now going to set a timer for 22 minutes. Don't mind how disgusting my oven is, but you can see in there the beautiful loaf and it's rising like a dream. All right, everybody, my 22-minute time has gone off. And this is what the loaf is looking like in the tin. So I'm gonna take it out of here, put the lid back on, and put this Dutch oven back in the oven because we'll need that for the second loaf. I'm actually gonna take this out of this tin immediately. So I just need to give it a bit of a rub. And that is one reasonably good looking loaf. And you can see that there's air pockets and gas bubbles, but it's super shiny on the bottom because the tin is super shiny. I'm gonna set this on a cooling rack to let it cool down. Hello everybody and welcome back. It is now Monday, which is late for this video. Today is the day that I am posting this, but I realized I never did an outro and I never actually talked about my sourdough starter either. So I'm gonna save the starter for a separate video, but I did throw my loaves in the fridge. This was how the second one came out. I showed you guys the first one as soon as it came out. The second is looking a little bit darker because I forgot about it and left it in the oven for an extra 4 or 5 minutes. But yeah, I'm very happy to have those done, even though I can't eat them. Thank you guys for watching this video. I have no idea how long or short this video is, but I hope that it was informative, and if you're a sourdough person or wanting to be a sourdough person, then you can learn something or give a new technique a try. I know I did 2 different stretch and fold techniques, and I do that for every single one of my loaves. They all get those 2 different stretch and fold techniques, and yeah, I just do things the way I do it. I don't think there's many other people that use tins as their everyday sourdough loaf. Maybe in the next video when I show you my starter, I will also make a artisan sourdough loaf to show you that as well, and hopefully you guys will stick around for that. So if you enjoyed this video, then please make sure that you like it down below because that would mean the world to me and it would show me that you guys are interested in seeing more sourdough content from me. Otherwise, you can also subscribe to eventually see more from me when I make more videos about sourdough and homesteading and things like that, because that's what I hope my future has in store for me. Otherwise, thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night wherever you are in the world, and I will see you again on Thursday. Bye!